The legendary guitarist and singer Mark Knopfler has been making music for decades, selling hundreds of millions of records in the process.
And now the former Dire Straits frontman is back with a new album packed with his signature sounds and toe-tapping riffs. We're going to have him here on the sofa in just a moment to chat.
Are you on?
We're on. Mark joins us
We're
now.
just chatting away.
Hi, how
Hello,
are you?
Hello, nice to be back.
It's so lovely to have you back
It's
here.
nice to be in Manchester again.
I know. I noticed when Carol was doing our weather, you had a very close eye on the northeast, looking very closely at your hometown.
Yeah, I know. I have a little weather app on my phone, you know, and I don't know whether you do, but I use mine all the time.
Yeah.
And there
Was
we
the
are.
sun shining on you?
The British have always been interested in the weather, haven't they?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think sometimes we always have one of the places that we love in our lives on that app, even if we don't necessarily live there.
That's right.
You're still rooted musically in the northeast, as your latest works show.
Yeah, and I'll be wondering if it's raining in Whitley Bay, you know.
Oh.
Yeah, it will be. Well, I suppose life it involves a few cities for me. It began in Glasgow when I was a little fellow listening to the radio on the floor, and because BBC had a thing called Children's Favourites on Listen with Mother and stuff like that. And
Are you sitting comfortably? Was that?
Yes.
Yeah. Are you sitting comfortably?
Well, I am, but
Good.
well remembered.
Yeah.
And are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. And I remember my mum telling me I used to listen really intently. And I think I was listening to the words as much as the music, you know, because I can still sing all the words to. I mean, if you take a song like the Big Rock Candy Mountain, it was actually a hobo song, but I didn't know what a hobo was. I couldn't even walk. But I liked it, you know, I liked the music, and I think that my love for songs began there.
And it has carried on, hasn't it, through the decades? And it's still there now with this latest work that you're sharing with us this morning that includes a reworking of perhaps one of your most famous pieces of music. Tell us about that.
Oh, well, that was a lovely experience. That was just for the Teenage Cancer Trust and to share with Teen Cancer in America as well, which is was a nice sharing. And someone suggested that we do a new instrumental version of Going Home from the Local Hero music soundtrack, and which we often used to finish the set with. And then it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I don't know, I'm not sure how it happened, but I think Mike Reed might have had something to do with it. There was definitely some mischievous people behind it all, but
well, look at these names and hear the music. I mean, you're in the middle, but surrounded by all these glamorous assistants.
They were all fantastic. Everybody who played on it was ridiculously good, and there was one after the other, and I'd come in, and Bruce Springsteen would have sent a piece over from the States, you know, and it would be. There was everybody would be on it. It started. Pete Townsend came through the door because with teen cancer and teenage cancer, you know, obviously Roger Daltrey has spent his life involved with it, and Pete's been involved with it too. So he came through with a guitar and an amp and started. When Pete Townsend plays chords on your tune, you know they stay played. And he's one of my favourite guitar players. And then there was Eric Clapton came in, I think, the next day, and then there was David Gilmour, and they'd all played beautifully on the song. It was one after another, and I said to Guy, you know, because Guy is a trained recording engineer. So I mean, he's
Guy who you work with.
Yeah,
all the
Guy
time.
Fletcher. I'm sorry. Yeah, Guy Fletcher from Dire Straits. So we go back 40-odd years working together. Me and Gaius said, Gaius, because that's why I call him Gaius. I said, Gaius, this thing is going to be 20 miles long if we're not careful. And can you edit it? And, you know, can you keep it? Can you, and bless him, you know, he's a great editor, and he just kept working on it, and we might have had to double up some verses, but he did some great editing on it, and we managed to fit, I think, everybody in, and there was some inspired playing from people. And even Joe Brown, who, you know, I remember seeing outside Newcastle, I remember seeing him in Newcastle City Hall when I was a little kid and just getting interested in rock and roll. And Joe, plays a beautiful mandolin section on the tune, you know, and he's still exactly the same. And it's unbelievable that Joe hasn't changed. I think music just keeps you young.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, you mentioned Dire Straits. Obviously, it's a huge part of your story, and you guys still working together in different ways. Can I ask you the question that I know everybody asks you all the time? Is there any chance that you'd perform together as Dire Straits again?
I don't think so, just because, for a number of reasons. One of them being is that I've built my own studio, which I really love being in, and I haven't had a bad day in there. And it's given me the chance to really push. I mean, this last album, I've done far too many songs. And I've asked management about that, and they say, well, that's good. It's good to have these extra
I mean, if you wanted like even just one last show, one last gig, people would pay a fortune. They'd be queuing around the country to get in. You're not tempted, though.
They could get you a job somewhere.
Oh, I don't know.
I'll take 10%, Mark. Come on, let's do it. Seriously, though.
I don't think we'd be useless.
No, I don't think so. No, it's always been beautiful. I love Dire Straits, and I love doing all that. But what I wanted to do was just to expand and work with different players and have a bigger lineup. You know, the last time I had the band in, and that's the high point for me. And you've got, I would probably have had about 6 or 7 guys in. You know, it would be bigger than a little 4-piece that was stripped down than when we had it. And that was great and I loved it. I had an absolute ball for as long as it lasted, until it got so big that I didn't know the names of all the roadies. It was just getting big.
Like family?
It got so big we were actually leapfrogging stages. And that's what you have to do when it gets to a certain scale. It's not the easiest thing.
But the new album is, well, we talked about Going Home, and that's going home in a way as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the Going Home thing it's like a circular moment for me, which music's given me a lot of. I should mention that Hank from The Shadows was also played on the Cancer record, the Teen Cancer record, and because often he'd come and join us on stage back as Dire Straits early, because The Shadows recorded it as well, and that was always he's a great player.
Yes.
Hank is a great player. Don't make no mistake about it. And but yeah, well, the whole thing has been lovely. But yes, what happened really with me recently, it's just like 4 buses coming along at once, and it wasn't planned. That the Teen Cancer record happened, with the album happened, and then there was something else. It was me and Brian Johnson messing about on doing things on film and whatever else. So it's been busy, but it's kind of good to be busy.
It certainly is. Yeah. Thank you for letting us get on your busy bus. It's great to have you here. Fantastic. Mark Knopfler,
thanks very much.
Whose new album, One Deep River, will be released this Friday.